So, take two. Hi, it's Anne Marie with AM Astro, and I wanted to look at William and Kate's wedding because I didn't know astrology back then, and I just thought it would be really fascinating to look at it. I pulled up the chart um, and was really drawn into their moon in this chart. Because I see that it's a waning crescent. It's at the end of its cycle, and I was just like, well, that doesn't seem like a very appropriate moon to get married under. And I Googled, getting married under a waning moon, and apparently they say it's good luck, but that doesn't like really coincide with uh, like the lunar phases because uh, the closing third quarter phase is considered bringing closure and reviews, rewards, and payments given or received. It's sharing the memories and paying the bills. So I wanted to see, let's look at the gestational cycle of this lunar phase. And so when you do that, you have to go back to the where was the moon at its third quarter phase, and the computer software can tell you that. So I found the different lunation, like when the new moon would be at that around those degrees, and then 9 months later the first quarter moon would be around those degrees, and then 9 months after that the full moon would be at those degrees, and then 9 months after that the third quarter moon, which happened 4 days before this. So the moon was at the third quarter phase of 2 degrees Aquarius, or 6 degrees, I think, 4 days prior to. So if we go back and look at the new moon phase of that lunation cycle, it was on an eclipse, and it's right here on the ascendant of this chart, which I found very interesting. So because both Kate and William were born on eclipses, she was born on a lunar eclipse when the moon was full, and he was born on a solar eclipse, a new moon eclipse, just like this is a new moon. It's a seed planting time. Eclipses are bringing things in and taking things out. Being on the ascendant, this is a very powerful, and because it's an eclipse, the nodal axis is right there as well. Now this eclipse is ruled by Saturn. This is January 26, 2009. We had to go back 2.5 years from their wedding to get to, or roughly 27 months, to get to the new moon phase at this. And it's ruled by Saturn. And this just to me looks like, I don't know, Queen Elizabeth, right? Because she was a Capricorn rising and she had Saturn on her midheaven, and she just seems the embodiment of Saturn. She was the longest reigning monarch. So that just feels like in the seventh house of relationships, it just feels like her blessing. I don't know. To me, it does. That's, even though it's in opposition to all of this. Maybe she wasn't all for it. Who knows? I don't know. I don't really follow the royals that much. But anyway, we're looking at this chart. This is the new moon phase in its eclipse. It is considered in Bernadette Brady's predictive astrology. It's 11 North. It's the Saros series 11 North. Under the influence of this family of eclipses, individuals may suddenly change the groups with which they are mixing, either through travel or ideas. The whole eclipse series could also talk of suddenly deciding to make greater commitments in a relationship. Is that not perfect for the new moon phase in their wedding? The lunation phase of their wedding. So this is the new moon, and this is in 2009. Now I want to look and see what, historically what was going on in their relationship in 2009, see if there was any key things going on. And I found that they were not seen in any official capacity together during 2009 at all. There was no official public appearances, the two of them together. William traveled to Australia, I think, and somewhere else. But so they had, obviously they met in 2003 at school. They were first seen together, I think, 2005. They were like on the cover of a magazine skiing, and then that got William got very upset. And then in 2007 they broke up. Like in January 2007 they broke up after being seen at some competition thing. But then they were back together by that summer. And then 2008 they went to some event together. And so then 2009 they did not show up anywhere. And so this is kind of interesting because this is the new moon phase in January of 2009. The new moon phase, this is something new is happening. And if we look at where it hits each of their charts, now, so this is where this lunation is going to be constantly hitting Catherine's chart. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at it, but it's just in her 6th house of poor health and I'm drawing a blank on the word that I want to use, but it's those that report to you or you reporting to others. Subservience, is that the right word? Not submissive, subservient, or underlings. I can't think of the right word. Turn the camera on, my brain goes off. So anyway, so the lunations all the way through are going to be hitting her 6th house, this conjunction of Mercury and Venus. Mercury rules her 11th and her 2nd house, and Venus rules her 10th and her 3rd house. And so 10th, 11th, 2nd, 3rd are being triggered by this lunation all of the time. So it's her reputation, or her public appearance, her brain work, her reputation, and her friends and networks, hopes and dreams, then her values and resources, and her communication, siblings, and local things, familiar things. So those will be triggered by all of these lunations. And anything else I wanted to point out, you can see her eclipse here, the nodal axis. And Saturn is in her 2nd house. So that's all I want to say about that. And then if we go to the bi-wheel for William, so they're all going to be hitting, they're right on the cusp of his 2nd house of values, resources. And so if the first quarter moon, are we at the, we're at the new moon, sorry. The new moon, this is the 2nd time I've done this, so I'm like stumbling even more than I did in the first one. This is the seed stage, the beginning of a cycle. It is a time of new ideas and fresh starts, but it is never a good time to take action because, as Dietrich Hessin says, there is not enough moonlight on the matter. We don't have enough. It's dark. This is a dark moon, so there's not enough light to see what's happening, especially in this eclipse. Wait until the first quarter, 9 months later, before taking productive action related to ideas formed at this stage. At the new moon, there is a feeling of something new to discover. We're clueless or too subjective. We are seeking direction and clarity. It is a perfect time to conceive ideas or plant seeds of an undertaking, to research, brainstorm, and make a wish list. And so you get this idea of, this is him, this is William, considering, okay, what are my resources? What are my values? And concerning this relationship, because the moon rules is co-ruler of his 7th house of relationships, rules his sun and his moon. And that's the example that, what example was he given by his parents as far as relationships go? The sun is your father, the moon is your mother, and he has them both. The moon is separating from the sun in his seventh house. So this is his idea. So he's thinking in relation to Catherine, obviously speculating here, complete speculation. I'm just reading charts, right? What do I know? But this new, in 2009, if you look at the history, they weren't seen in public. He's considering, he's thinking, what value add is she to my life? Is being in a relationship with her, I mean, obviously I'm going to be king at some point in my life, possibly, maybe. So I need a queen, don't I? Maybe. And is she a value add? And so he could be thinking that this seed is being planted. Looking back, now we can say that that's what was happening. His passions, there's a passionate fatedness to it because of the Mars South Node there, Mercury. So these seeds were planted. And then we go to the first quarter moon. And so now this is a square to the sun, right? So you've got the sun at 2 Scorpio, and the moon at 2 Aquarius. And this is in October of 2009. So we've gone from January to October, 9 months later. And any specific things we want to see in this chart? Jupiter, Neptune, the Mercury Cazimi in the same. So, you know, this is ruled by the sun, the royalty, the idea of royalty. And the sun is in the 3rd house, cadent, it's fallen, everything's under the horizon. So you just get the sense of crisis, right? And that's a first quarter square it's a crisis. It's the, we're better but not fully informed at this stage. With the sun squared by the moon, it's a turning point, often crisis or stress driven, with a need to move things up a gear. Something in our life, whatever is being triggered by this phase that was in seed form 9 months ago, now springs into action, demands attention, or develops significantly. This is a time to make things happen and to pursue new endeavors, but commitments are premature until there's more light available at the next phase. And so again, if we look at the biwheels, we can see what's being triggered, and it's going to be the same each time because the lunation, we're following the lunation around. So in Catherine's chart, we can see the lunation is hitting that 6th house, and the sun is at her nadir, at the bottom of her chart, at the foundation. And so what's triggering in her mind is, am I going to be subservient the rest of my life? I'm not going to be my own shining light. I'm going to be subservient somehow, always. That's playing in her mind. Now, when I look at her, I don't think she doesn't appear subservient in any way, right? She's a beautiful woman that commands attention, and you know, she's a princess. But behind the scenes, she's marrying into the firm, or whatever it's called. So, you know, she's not royal, she's marrying into royalty. And so she is, in a sense, subservient, right? And so that's playing on her mind, and how it's impacting her foundation, her home. How is it going to impact my home? And because everything's below the horizon in her chart as well, I feel like that's kind of, for her, it's like this this tension is internal, and she's thinking, you know, she's thinking more about how it's going to affect her privately rather than publicly. It's like, how is this going to impact my health, my value of myself, or my opinion of myself, because Mercury is being triggered each time, and Mercury rules her 2nd house of values and self-worth. So that's being triggered by each of these lunations. What part of me is this relationship going to require? And then if we look at it in William's chart, lots of hopping around. I don't know. Please comment below and let me know how you feel about that. All the jumping around, all the charts, so many charts. So again, it's on his 2nd house cusp. The sun is at the very top of his chart on his midheaven. So to him now, the crisis of action is, you know, what do people require of me publicly? You know, he's got this public and then his personal values. But we've got a split, like things are below the horizon, but they're also above the horizon for him. So he's being again, it's this idea of self-worth and self-value, and is she a value add, and how is it going to be publicly? What's the public are they going to accept this? Are they going to accept my relationship with Catherine or Kate? Pluto being right on his part of fortune, the part of fortune is the distance between your sun and moon, and then you take that distance and then you add it to the ascendant, and so that's the part of fortune, and it's a triggering point, and it's a sensitive point in your chart. It's not a planet, it's not something, but it's a sensitive point in your chart, and it's supposed to be very positive. But Pluto going over there is saying it's being transformed. Your part of fortune is being triggered by Pluto. There's something pretty significant going on there. But this was back in 2009, October 2009. As we know, Pluto's all the way through there now, long past that point. So again, the value and such. Then if we go into, after the first quarter moon, we have full moon, full illumination. Here the moon beams down a full spotlight upon us. Matters that started 18 months ago and were triggered into productive action 9 months ago are now in full bloom. Everything can be seen, particularly relationship concerns. This is the Libra phase of the lunar cycle. And generally speaking, emotions run high at the full moon, as relationship issues invariably come to a head. At the full moon, we're completely aware. Ideas or circumstances are out in the open, and our cards are on the table. It's a great time for a launch or to achieve maximum exposure. There's a sense of fulfillment, whether it's the completion of a deadline or the enjoyment of the fruits of one's labors. Okay, so this is really interesting. July of 2010 is the full moon phase. They got engaged October 20th of 2010. So just a couple months after this full moon phase. So the light is, this is time for action. The full moon is like, okay, we've thought it all over. We've seen all the things that we need to see. And now it's time to make the action, to commit, to make, to do the thing. And so if we look at this full moon in her chart, again, 6th and 12th. So this idea of possibly even, losing her identity, because this is, the sun is in the 12th house. It's the 12th house is your self-undoing. And so there's definitely this idea of, what am I giving up of myself for this? She's definitely being triggered by that. There's a trine to, this is very interesting, the trine to the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, which happened earlier that in 2010. And so this was a seeding point as well, because we're getting ready for Jupiter-Uranus to be conjunct in Taurus April 20th of this year. So this was seated at 0 degrees of Aries, which is interesting, and that's going to be a whole other study. But at this full moon phase, there is this communication to that seating. It's giving a gift of something. There is a gift here. Jupiter in her chart rules her 5th house of children. Well, that's beautiful. And her 8th house of inheritances, in-laws, and death, and taxes. So there's a gift being given here of children at this full moon phase that she goes ahead with this thing, then she's going to be gifted with children and inheritances, secrets, in-laws, everything that goes with it, right? Could all be surprising because there's Uranus. So in William's chart, again, it's hitting his second house cusp and 8th house cusp. And then that Jupiter Uranus gift is coming in from his 3rd house. And so this is siblings, brothers. This is the house of brother. This is also the joy of the moon. So Jupiter being there it's the house of goddess. So that gift is interesting. It's like, because that's also rumors and messaging and the press. So possibly this could be saying that, that the press is going to be beneficial for you with this relationship. And I would say that to this point it has been. And then we go to the 3rd quarter moon, which was just 4 days prior to their wedding. And so in this chart, the moon is in the 4th house, the 12th house, 4 degrees. And so there's this sense of stepping away, and being apart, away from, I don't know how to read that. But again, it's in a square to the sun, and the sun is firmly placed in his 2nd house we're looking at an individual, but it's in the 2nd house of values and resources. It's a closing square. So there's this sense of, and the sun is in Taurus, is letting go of what ideas that you had of what, ideas, Aquarius. I don't know. I'm not sure how to read that. But it definitely feels, it's like I said, when I see that waning moon in their wedding chart, I'm just like, what the heck? But apparently it's lucky. I don't know. But there's a lot of energy in the 1st house. So their identity is changing, right? Their identity of who they are, it's changing. And then there's Saturn in the 7th house again. Well, because it's only 4 days. Well, nah. And now in exaltation. So if then we go back again to their actual wedding, and it's a Leo rising ruled by the sun, royalty, and there's everybody that's coming from all over the world to observe the wedding. And Saturn in opposition to it, exalted in Libra, but cadent in the 3rd house. So there's a sense of disappointment, possibly. And like if Saturn represents Queen Elizabeth, which I don't think, August, honey, come here. That's just a feeling I got from looking at the new moon chart that started this whole thing. But she could also, Saturn could represent Queen Elizabeth, I think, and exalted in Libra, but retrograde and cadent in the 3rd house. There's a sense of there's probably a message or something there that she has or gave that was maybe kind of, I've just heard not again. I just heard not again. So she was worried, possibly not again, not another, like something, maybe something happened. She had a message about something. I don't want to go to speculation. It's all speculation. So then I drew up the solar return for their wedding chart. And so this brings the sun back to the place that it was on the day they were married. And this is upcoming solar return. So for 2024, and just taking a look at this chart is ruled by Mercury, which is in the 8th house of anxiety, in-laws, death, taxes, secrets, conjunct the North Node of fate. The sun is is on the cusp of the ninth house. So that ninth house, trying to be the best you could be, higher mind, that's been emphasized in a number of these charts and in their wedding chart as well. So having the sun go into that ninth house again does bring, you know, that same thing. But the moon here is in the bottom of the chart, as is Saturn and Pluto. And everything else is above the chart. So public focused, these heavier planets and the moon are below the horizon. So private life could be possibly more strained. The moon is in its fall in Capricorn, so that doesn't feel good. That feels emotionally heavy. And then Mars and Neptune are conjunct in the 7th house of relationships. And that feels like a disillusionment of passion. Or possibly veiled anger. Not real positive about that either. So anywho, that's what I decided to do today, is just look at their chart, or the number of their charts. Thank you for looking at them with me. If you've lasted this long, I would love to hear your opinion on how you feel about, like, is that too many charts to see, or would you like to see something different? Or yeah, I really am trying to grow my channel, so I'm hoping for any advice you can give me. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what you think. And we will see you soon. Thank you.